Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be working with the Spellbinders July Large Die Kit of the Month, and it creates this really cute bicycle. This is 3D, so you can actually create a basket to put some goodies in. There you can see on the back they've used the small die kit with it to add some of the little critters riding along in the back. So I'm going to start off here by putting together the bicycle just to show you how everything works together, and then after this I will have 3 cards for you. So this is a bit time consuming to put together. If you are not interested in putting together the complete bike and want to just skip to the cards, those will start around the 5-minute mark. So what I'm using here is some cardstock from Paper Tray Ink. I've got Hawaiian Shores, Smoky Shadow, Autumn Rose, Sweet Blush, Cocoa Bean, and Lemon Tart. And then from MFT, I'm also using Whipped Cream and Jelly Bean Green. So I've gone ahead and I've created 4 wheels because I want this to be 3D all the way around. I'm going to double up the wheel on the front, and I've also doubled a lot of the other things just to have a nice clean cut edge on both sides. So I've done a double layer of the main frame for the bike just to make that a little more sturdy, as well as that back frame that's going to go across to hold the basket. I cut that out twice and glued that together as well. Here I'm attaching the handlebars. Again, those are doubled up, and because there were 2 of them, I was able to match them up really nicely to have that clean cut edge on both sides. Same for the little handles that I'm adding off to the sides here. Now, when you put this together, because of the way the handlebar is shaped, you do have sort of an open edge there. I did take the longer front, I'm not sure what you would call that, but the front pole pieces running into the wheel there, and covered that up just to have another nice clean edge. For the wheels here, I'm going to go ahead and attach these. One thing that I would mention is when you are placing your wheels together, for at least 2 of them, you want to make sure that the cap piece that goes over the top of the wheel, that little blue piece, matches up on 2 of them as you're matching up the spokes. As you could see there, I grabbed all the other 3 and tried to find the one that matched the best. It's still not perfect, but it was close enough that I could live with it for this one. So just make sure when you're putting at least 2 of those together that you're matching the spokes and those blue pieces front and back. That way you'll have a nice even look on either side. I'll go ahead and attach the seat here, and then also each of these 2 wheels on the side. So I'm going to go ahead here and place together my basket. I've trimmed out 4 of these side pieces. There is a bottom panel piece that you can attach to one edge of this if you wanted to actually fill your basket with something, but I wanted mine to be able to close flat in case I want to use this on the front of a card or maybe as a card itself, and I will just stick, a little note, smaller note card or just piece of paper in the basket for my space to write my sentiment. I've gone ahead here and I'm attaching these down. I did use one of the sentiments from that same truck die set that I had shown you in the previous video that I did for the small die kit this month. It's a similar look, but I just wasn't going to use the fun time sentiment. That's not something that I would really need a card for, and I can always use thank you cards, so I just switched those 2 out. Here I've trimmed out some of the flowers, and I'm going to use my bloom tool. I'm just taking the edge and just rolling that around right in the center of each flower to give that a nice 3D cupped look. And now I'll layer these with a little dot of art glitter glue, just adding the smaller one into the larger one. Once I've got those together, I'm going to grab some of my sprigs here and I'll attach these to all 3 sections of that basket and then fill in with some of the flowers. So here is the finished 3D bike. There you can see that because the bottoms are not in the basket, I'm able to fold that flat and it would go ahead and fit in an envelope. This will not fit in an A2 size envelope. You would have to make a special one. It's really actually just shy of it. So just going slightly larger, you could definitely fold this flat and mail it if you'd like to. So I'm jumping here into card number 1, and I'm going to go ahead and put this bike together again, simply because you don't need all of the same amount of work. This was much faster to put together, but I did still put in some of the 3D elements. So I've gone ahead and cut out just really one of most of the items. I doubled up on the handlebar because I wanted to leave that sort of sticking out just on the one side there. And then again, I've also doubled up on the petals just so to give the look of having 2 of them there. Other than that, I have kept everything a single layer, and again, I'm just attaching it all using my art glitter glue. So while I'm finishing up here, I'll let you know the cardstock I'm using. From MFT, I've got After Midnight, Whipped Cream, and Jelly Bean Green. I will also use Pineapple to create a card base. And then from Paper Tray Ink, I'm using Aqua Mist, Smoky Shadow, Sweet Blush, and Autumn Rose. I've also pulled in a silver metallic for the handlebars and that section of the petals. So I'm going to add some art glitter glue to the back of this, and the only places I'm not gluing are that handlebar because I want that to pop up for some dimension, and also the circle of the wheel. I want to be able to tuck some flowers behind there, so I'm just going to leave that open so I can easily get in there the way that I need to. Once I've got that down, I'll go ahead and trim off the excess. And I'm going to stamp out a sentiment here. I'm using the same stamp set I used for the small die set this month, and this is by ReverseConfetti. It's called A Friend Like You. And I'll stamp that out using my VersaFine Onyx black ink. Now I'm going to pull in some flowers and some of these leaves. So I'm just going to tuck these sort of in and around the spokes of that wheel. And then once I'm happy with the layout, I'll just add a dot or 2 of some art glitter glue. I really wanted to keep these sort of lifted off the page so that they looked wild and like they were actually growing. And then I will of course add another dot of art glitter glue and place down all 3 of my flowers. Each of the flower dies have some flower centers that will cut along with the petals. So I'm going to use some of those from the MFT pineapple flowers that I've cut out and place those down in the middle there. I've got another Nina panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4 here, and I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, "Your friendship means the world to me," again using my VersaFine Onyx black ink. I'll go ahead and add some ATG and then place my front panel down. I'll add some Scor-Tape to the back of about 1/4 inch piece of that Aqua Mist cardstock. Place that along the bottom of my inside panel. Trim off that excess, add some ATG to the back, and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 1. So as you guys know, I'm always trying to think of something different that we can do with these dies, and I've got all of these leftover triangles from when I cut out my wheels for the bicycle. So I'm going to use them to create a pattern. I've got a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I took my ruler and just drew a pencil line straight down the middle of that, and I'm going to place these down sort of tip to tip, end to end, creating a little pattern here. And I ended up having enough to do 5 rows. So I started in the center, and then you'll see in a second here that I did move over, and I did about a 1/2 inch on either side, and then another 1/2 inch on either side of those. So I have 5 stripes going down the front of my panel. I've also taken some of that Aqua Mist cardstock, and I've cut out that thank sentiment. I've got some branches here. I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these down, and I'm just going to create a vine that runs up and down the card here. I wanted to pop up this sentiment strip, so I'm going to add just a very small 1/8 of an inch section on one side of that thanks, and then I'll use my regular 1/2 inch foam tape on the opposite side. I'll peel away the backing and then place that down. And then once I've trimmed off the excess here, I'm going to add a few more branches, adding some on top of that blue stripe. And then next I'll go ahead and fill in with my flowers. Lastly, I decided I wanted to add one more sprig of leaves up at the top. Since that bottom sprig was sort of poking off of the bottom, I wanted to have another one just peeking up off of the top as well. I added some ATG to the back of that, and I'm going to place that here on top of a card base. This is made from MFT's After Midnight. For the inside, I've got a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, "Life is better with a friend like you." For that, I'm going to pull in a little bit more of that light blue, and I'm using Lawn Fawn Minty Fresh ink. I'll add some ATG to the back of that and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 2. So for card number 3, again, trying to think of something different, I'm going to use this wheel die that gives me the solid circle as well as that outer ring, and I'm going to create a pattern with these. So I'm again on a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, and I've cut out a bunch of these circles from Paper Tray Ink, Sweet Blush, and Autumn Rose. And I'm just going to alternate these, the solid circle and that outer ring as well as the colors, adding a little bit of art glitter glue, and then placing each one down. For that sentiment strip that I've cut over there, that is also from Paper Tray Ink, and that is Plum Pudding cardstock. And once I have my pattern done, I'm just going to go ahead and take that to my trimmer and make those edges nice and clean again. I'm going to glue my sentiment strip directly down on top of my panel, adding some art glitter glue behind all of those little spaces there. And then I'll pop that down in place and again trim off the excess. I've added some Scotch foam tape to the back of this panel, and I'm going to pop that down on top of a Neenah card base. For the inside, I'm again on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, "Lucky me to have a friend like you." I dug deep into my stash to try and find a purple that would match the front, and I found Versa Magic Perfect Plumeria. I will try to link this for you guys if I can, but it is very old, and I have a feeling that I picked it up at Joann's when it was on sale, but I will do my best to try and find it for you if I can. I'll add some ATG to the back of that and then go ahead and place that on the inside of my card base. Finally, I'm going to finish up here with some flowers on the front, just adding in a few of these sprigs. Now I had glued this down, so I'm just taking my pokey tool here and very carefully running that just under the edge of my sentiment strip so I can get these little leaves tucked in underneath. And once I'm happy with my layout, I'll go ahead and glue all of those in place. And that will complete card number 3. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.